prove that minus 2 cotangent squared x is 1 over 1 minus secant x plus 1 over 1 plus secant x is an identity. Now, as we've done with many of the problems, if you watched a number of these in succession, you've noticed that we've always solved the left-hand side. Well, when I look at this one, I notice that the more complex side is the right-hand side, right? I've got fractions rolling all over the place over there. So what I want to do is it's just always that more complicated side that you want to solve. So in this case, we're not going to do anything with the left-hand side. We're going to do everything with the right-hand side. So if I have two fractions, if I was taking college algebra, you'd have to do what to add them? Well, you'd have to find a common denominator. Well, I'm going to do exactly the same thing in trig. I need to find a common denominator. So what is that common denominator? Well, remember you need one of each thing that's already on the denominator. So I'm going to have 1 minus secant x times 1 plus secant x. Now, how do I get stuff on the numerator? Well, remember I look at the current denominator, which is the one in purple, and my new one has an extra term. So I need to take the numerator times that extra term. So that's going to be 1 plus secant of x plus, so there's your first term. Now for the second one, I do the same thing. I already have the 1 plus secant x, so now I need the 1 minus secant x. So I've got 1 minus secant x. Now, is there any way for me to simplify that? Sure there is. There's something that is the opposite. So I've got a positive secant x and a negative secant x, so those will cancel one another out, leaving me with just 2 on the numerator. Now down here on the bottom, I notice that this is like the difference of two squares, so I can multiply that out. So I'm going to get 1 minus secant squared x. And I notice that on the bottom, then I can simplify that again, right? That's an identity that we've looked at. So 1 minus secant squared x is the same thing as what? Minus tangent squared of x. Well, I notice over here on the left-hand side, I need a cotangent. So I know that tangent squared of x is the same thing as what? Well, it's the same thing as 1 over the cotangent squared of x, which simplifies to what? When I divide something by 1 over it, I'm actually going to be multiplying the numerator and that second denominator. So I'm going to get minus 2 cotangent squared x, which ding, 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 we've got the answer. So I'm going to draw my arrow down here. I'm going to rewrite the left-hand side. They are the same, so I have proven that this is an identity.